Taxation is a principal method by which a government generates revenue, and the Nigerian tax system has undergone significant changes in recent times, with the current administration intensifying its efforts to ensure that more Nigerians are inculcated into the system.
Tax has come to stay from the origin of mankind. Now, about Nigeria and every other nation, there are three stages of government that charge taxes: the federal government, the state government, and local governments. The way it is in Nigeria is the way it is all over the world, these governments. So in Nigeria, the federal government, what they call the Federal Inland Revenue, charge the corporate taxes. The states charge the income taxes for individuals, and the unincorporated companies pay taxes to the state. Though at last everybody reports to government. Then the local governments charge the levies. There are some other charges they charge. Now, how have Nigeria failed in collecting the taxes? I will tell you right away. Nigeria have failed so bad because in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria have collected the least tax.
The Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme was launched by the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, on June 29, 2017. The initiative is designed to encourage voluntary disclosure of previously undisclosed assets and income for the purpose of payment of all outstanding tax liabilities.
The vice president or the acting president came up with what we called the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme. You've heard that out of 70 million Nigerians that are economically active, only 14 million pay taxes. That's also so low. Therefore, what the president did is a very good thing. It's called an intervention. It happens everywhere. The state of New Jersey 4 years ago did amnesty. The United States does it. England does it. So you do it. What that means is that the tax gap in Nigeria is so wide, extremely so wide. To feed this gap, a lot of combined interventions are needed.
In order to tackle the issue of tax evasion, the government needs to address the issue of infrastructural deficit in Nigeria to encourage more citizens to pay their taxes willingly and in due time.
The problem there is that to pay tax is very good. But what I notice in this country, this country is not organized. I can see other countries like Europe, like Britain, England, US, they are so much concerned about tax because they provide the necessary things for the citizen.
We here, we are business people here. We trade on business and we sell, but STA will pay tax in this place. And you can see the environment, no roads, no water, no light, even inside the market, but we still pay tax. And now they are still wanting us to pay tax again. That's why when they came the last time, we said we're not going to pay the tax again because there's no roads, there's no lights around here. We use our gen every day, burning light, but we are still paying tax. So I don't know if the government can help us to do the road for us and give us light in this market that we are using, it will be good for us. So if we are paying the tax, we know yes, we are not losing our money.
Due to the plummet in oil prices globally, the nation's economy slipped into recession in 2016. The time is ripe to look inwards to generate revenue and to help increase Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio, which is currently at an abysmal 6%. Christiana Amodu reporting for Moneyline with Nancy.
Lovely place, right?
Yes.
What's wrong? You don't look happy.
Take a look around. Why can't my hotel be like this?
I knew something was wrong, but I've got solution.
Solution? What?
Nanet.
Nanet?
Nanet offers you design solutions, building plans and construction, furnishing and equipping, financing, management, audit services, and many more services for a better hospitality business. Nanet, service with a smile.
Right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's time for the agenda for today. We're looking at the Paris Club, a reform that the Federal Ministry of Finance, of course, disbursed to states in Nigeria, 36 states, and the FCT, a total of about 765 billion naira, or even more. My guest is joining me right now, Albert Ukaigwe, policy analyst. Good morning to you, and thanks for joining me on the show.
Good morning, Nancy.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
But we can't say that of some of the states, that some of the states are not well. Even with this Paris Club reformed, this seems to be like, an escape for them, because these are states that have been reeling in debts. Some pensioners, some people have not even received salaries in months. But of course, according to the documents signed, as these funds were being released, that they need to use a substantial amount to pay salaries. What do you think? Will the Paris Club reform make a difference in the 36 states of Nigeria, and indeed the Federal Capital Territory?
Thank you. I think it makes a difference. Going straight to your question, the federal government, realizing the difficulties the workers in the states are facing because of non-payment of salaries and arrears of pensions, wages, decided first of all to give the first one, which is 523 billion naira, and 50% was agreed with the Nigerian Governors Forum to be used to settle arrears. But instead of doing so, some of the states was alleged to have used the money in some other ways to pay for some consultancy, to pay some of their obligations with the Nigerian Governors Council, to pay some leadership of the National Assembly. These are allegations, but that is wrong. Some of them use only 10% instead of the 50%, and that brings them to square one, whereby if you owe somebody 5 months and you just give one, it's added to something, but it's not enough. So the federal government then set up a criteria for which they can receive subsequent refunds. And what is criteria? They must set up what we call targets for internal generated revenue. They must also make sure they meet the targets. That's number one. Number two is that they must also let go. Government has no business in business. That means all government enterprises has to be privatized. They can engage, they can do that through the PPP, what we call the public-private partnership, so that other people will run those governments. That's second.
Like those companies.
Those companies, yes. So that the government should let hands go. Now, the third one is to establish what they call efficiency units. Efficiency units to improve on what we call the due process. You cannot just engage in procurements and contracts without curtailing costs. That's exactly what that means. Establishment of efficiency units. Now, another thing is that they must limit loans they take. So when they meet with all these criteria, that will determine what they get next. Now, who knows how they made it up? But now they are releasing another 244 billion to the states, which are not disbursed yet. I'm just talking of the first one. The federal government have given it to the states, But a lot of the states,
first one was over 500 billion.
That's
the first
right.
tranche has been given.
Yeah, I said the 523.
Yes,
it's already
billion,
given.
the first one.
And I told you how they shared it. Majority of the states did the right thing. They shared it 50%. In fact, there are some states that even use 60% to spend salaries. There are some of them that did it. But there are some of them that did only 10%. And they use it to settle, as told you, consultancy, useless projects.
But this second tranche, this last week, the Federal Ministry of Finance put out a statement to say it's disbursed 243, and some states have even agreed, or some states have attested to the fact that they've gotten.
They've gotten it.
Yes.
So some of them,
second tranche.
Some of them in this second tranche here, what they did was set up a committee in this, and I like that. The states now, because of what happened before, take for instance something like a governor like Fayoshe had called a meeting of the Nigerian Labour Congress, the teachers union and so on. They have to come to the table and decide how they share the money. There are some other states that set from committees. They are meeting today. Today is Monday. Many of them will meet today to say how they share the money, so that they don't go reporting them again to the press and all that. So, which to me is a very good thing, that those who are concerned, because they have to pay 75% now. Before it was 50%. Now it's 75% of the proceeds,
yeah,
the refund, have
salaries
to be used to settle salaries, arrears of salaries. Because if you settle teachers, if you settle workers, pay them their salaries, that increases purchasing power.
But even as we see that, it's of course what was told to the governors was that use 75% to offset arrears. But we see a lot of states that if you take a look at their debt ratio, or even their wage bills in their states, is even more than what they earmarked to them.
I know.
You understand what I mean?
Yes,
it's just the help. For example, let's say Oyo State wage bill is about 5.2 billion, billion naira. If we let me take a look at Oyo State, what they did get in the second tranche, if I can see that, if it's here, but
it's not enough.
Generally,
it's
really
not enough. But the thing is this: how long shall the states continue to live in this feeding bottle attitude, whereby you come to the Abuja to get your feeding bottle filled, you return to the state, suck it dry, and return to the state and return to the Abuja again? How long will that continue? So states must focus on internally generated revenue to survive. How did we survive before oil? Before oil in the 70s, the North produced enough granules, enough cottons, enough skin and hides to maintain the northern region. The Midwest produced enough rubber and timber to maintain the Midwest and still have enough to give the federal government. The Southeast, or the East now, produce enough of what we call palm produce and coal to maintain itself and still pay to the federal government. The West produce enough cocoa to pay for all its obligations and return to government. So we must return to basis. This handout cannot solve the state's problem.
But I've also heard some of the governors speak that they would like to do that. They would like to harness the resources in their state, not just even taxing their citizens alone, but harness the resources in their state so that at the end of the day they pay back to government. But we do know the structure.
The structure.
Right now,
you see, the structure is not working right now.
Yes.
That is why a lot of people are asking for restructuring. Restructuring, we are asking for it now. Time will come when the federal government will ask for restructuring. I will tell you why. The federal government is now depending on oil as a monolistic source of revenue. In the next 40 years, you can mark it. Petrol will not be selling. There will not be oil. There
Tesla. Will be oil.
Do you know Tesla? There would, but
Tesla. I know what you're saying.
The demand will be down.
Yes.
Tesla is mass
just
producing
only
electric cars.
I understand that.
But they are mass producing it now.
Yes.
In fact, over 10 billion is in their account. Advance payments for the ones not yet manufactured.
In fact, countries like France
Germany,
already
banned in the year 2040.
In fact, some are saying by 2023.
It will be illegal.
Yes.
In 2020, which is just by the corner. is by the corner. Many nations will be driving electric cars. The car I drive is a hybrid, meaning that I fill the tank. In 1 week, I'll be driving to work, up and down, and I will not stop by any gas station. Do you know what that means? What it means. And many other nations that were not producing oil before. Take, for instance, United Nations that used to buy our fuel. They are no longer interested. Why?
United States.
United States. Because they are now producing. Therefore, we must go back to basics. And I can teach some states, maybe, what they can do to add to what used to be.
Is it that they don't know? But I don't want to believe.
I
don't want to believe that states don't know.
There is one state that is handing out $1 million to youths. If you had
$1 million?
$1 million naira.
I almost clinched.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
1 million naira to some youths. Over about maybe 400 youths have gotten that gift of 1 million. What I would think is that, I should believe, that these youths that are receiving this had a business plan. If they don't have a business plan and you're giving them 1 million, you just give them 1 million to go drink.
They'll come back to you in 2 years.
They will come back in a few months to ask for another 1 million. So what the state has to do is to teach the youths what to do. Youths can really empower these economies of states. There are, let me tell you, do you see honey? Honey costs more than petrol, oil. If states can teach the youths how to do honey beekeeping,
and export,
and they can produce enough honey to export, and that state will be self-reliant. If they can teach young ones how to plant cashew, you know cashew nuts, sold all over the world, many people consume it. They can also have enough to sustain the state. Because when all these industries bloom, what happens? They will employ people. And when they employ people, what happens? People will pay taxes. And when they pay taxes, what happens? The state can sustain itself. This is the same way. Take, for instance, all these federal things. For 5 years, when Lagos State did not receive any subvention from the federal, what happened? That, you know what they say? Necessity sometimes is mother of invention, and that make you to be creative.
But some will also say, you know, the environment of Lagos State, and Lagos State, a city or a state with a lot of people, is a coastal city. So
if you have a lot of people, it means you have a lot of people to take care of as well.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? It is the same thing. If you have so many people, it means you have so many people to take care of.
Okay, now.
So it is leadership. We wouldn't take an excuse from any of these governors. It is pure leadership. If leadership say this is what we're going to do, and they are focused on it, and they set, first of all, you set goals, and you work towards meeting the goals. Set targets. You work towards meeting the targets. You will get there.
Are we not seeing an improvement from the states? For example, you know, the states were told to pay salaries, at least 75% of the Party Club refund to pay salaries. And we do know that some of the states, for example, Osun State, you know, the controversial governor, so to speak, our Governor Aregbesola, you know, a stratified mode of payment, according to what I hear, that I think from level 1 to level 7 gets about 100%. Yes, 100% of their salaries. Level 8 to 10, 75%. Then level 12 and above, 50%. Yes. Now, you see that every one of them is being paid. But is that the right thing to do? Also coming to my mind is what former Governor Peter Obi said. I don't know if you saw his article at the time, and he did say that how can you be paying the bills of a drunkard while he's still at the bar?
Yes.
You know, and that really intrigued me.
Yes.
That is the story of Nigeria. Yes. You have a drunkard in a bar, you know, or what they call beer parlor. Let me not even say bar. Bar seems to be very esoteric. You have a drunkard in a beer parlor. That drunkard, every day he goes to the beer parlor, drinks himself to stupor, fall into gutter, and all of that. And you still pay him. And you are paying for the bills. He comes out indebted. You go there and pay his bills while he's still in the beer parlor.
Okay. Do you know why you continue to pay his bills? It's because you have money. If the source is no longer there, if the source is dwindling so badly, you will no longer be able to pay his bills, and he will no longer be able to drink as much. What happens? He will get out of the bar and start producing. Listen, the states, they don't have choice. I am telling you, the time is running out of them. They don't have choice. They must start doing something. They must start generating internally to be able to survive. The same thing as Lagos did. Lagos today, if you see Lagos as a country, it will be the 7th largest economic power in Africa, just a city. It wasn't like that before. But until they stopped giving them that money, they then thinked internally and did something. What did they do? It's not magic. It's just to develop a database. Develop a database of everybody in your state. When you do so, you say, what's the name? What does he do? How much does he make? What tax is expected of that person? And you go after it. Train tax collectors who will go after that. Before you know it, they start collecting. And if somebody knows he has to pay tax, he is obligated. He wants to work more. He wants to work hard. Lagos is still Nigeria. The same laws, the procedures that govern Nigeria still governs Lagos. All that they did was to step out of the box and do something different. Every other governor that wants to show good leadership can do the same.
We've also been, hearing from different sources about the diversion of funds. What do you think? Are we helpless as a people? Because you've seen even some of the labor unions come out to say that the governors are even using their monies, the monies to do what they like.
Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised.
This is a nation where people engaged in corruption and nothing happens. People, listen, politicians in this country are spoiled. Who spoiled them? Me and you and the people. Because they engaged in impunity. Nothing happens when they do something. And they think it's the same before and now. That is why when they're giving money, they can divert it, thinking that the game is still with the same rules.
What can we do then?
What we can do, number one,
to avoid that recklessness.
The record.
Or are we helpless as a people?
No, we cannot be helpless.
No, but the way
things are happening. Things are happening. Let me tell you, EFCC is after 7 governors.
But what has come out of that?
Well, something will come out of it. Something will come. Let me tell you, if somebody is doing something and know that somebody is watching, why is it that when they get this one? Okay, let me ask this question. Why is it that when they got this one, they are calling meetings?
Is it a matter of meetings? Or
well, it is something.
Priority of those payments, especially from people,
a journey
for people,
of
workers.
1,000 miles have to start with a step.
Can we do more?
We can do more. That's what I'm saying. When it starts with a step, then we do the next, which is getting them in prison. All of them, they have immunity. You have to make laws that enable these things to stop.
Can we do
if
more?
If somebody who take your money, who come here now, rush into this place, take your water, take your pen and all that, if nothing will happen to that person because he's immune, tomorrow he'll come again and say, Nancy, you cannot have this. You understand? Therefore, we have to take off this thing called immunity from them so that they will not continue to do the same thing.
Now, that may be a mid to long-term measure. Because for me, sometimes I look at what can I do in the short term that will get me desired results. So if we take out immunity, what can we do as a people? That was why I asked the question earlier. As a people, are we helpless that we're looking at these governors, these leaders, so to speak, and they're doing any way they want, especially with resources accrued to people? What can we do as a people? You said something that we are to blame, you, and the other people.
Because we are not talking enough.
Is it that we are not talking enough?
That's right.
Or perhaps
because
we also deserve the kind of leaders we have.
People started talking a few months ago in 2006, when they got that one. That is why they are calling meetings now. People started talking.
That's in 2016.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, last year.
Last year.
People have to talk. You can't keep quiet, thinking they will kill everybody. They can't kill everybody. Say something. The more you say something, the more they don't want to do. Listen, nobody wants to be exposed. Many people don't like being exposed. They think they can do it and nobody will know about it. That is why some of them refuse to say how they even disburse the money. You know that. Some of them refused to disclose how they disburse the money. But there are some people who watched some security agencies, some labor union people are the people who are talking to press and say, this is how the money was disbursed. So we must be talking. We must be doing something. We have to give them the heat so that they know they are serving people. We must, listen, we have to demand accountability. People are not demanding accountability in this country because they are not contributing to the system.
How?
If you pay taxes today, you want to know what your tax money is used for because you become a stakeholder.
Is that just the issue? Or it's also an issue of poverty that has been so endemic in the country?
Well,
you know, because if you also take a look at this,
Yeah.
you look at the political / the social
Yeah.
environment,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
that these governors or our leaders just, you know, every 4 years they do us as they like. You know, we are like puppets.
And we still vote for
Yes,
them.
and
But
we
even
still
if you
vote
don't
for
vote for them, they rig themselves in. The first thing you have to do...
But can you, for example, if you take the elections of 2015,
Yeah, it can be
you know,
compared.
yes, even if you want to rig, there are some elections, you know, perhaps even, what was the Abiola's election that year? I was younger, you know, but at least there are some elections that you will do that the people will say, we are not rigging anything and we'll be here to see.
No, but
yes.
it happened in the state.
Yes, so
whereby people slept at ANEC office.
Yes, that's what I'm actually going for.
That's what I'm talking about.
So is it not just about that poverty has really eaten deep into the fabric of our system, then politicians, these politicians taking us for granted. At the end of 4 years, in fact, by next year now, you start hearing snippets of
but you just told me now of what the steps people took. Next time in 2018 election, people are
2019 election.
2019 is going to be, people are going to be empowered more to say no. Because people have suffered a lot.
Are you sure?
There is this scarcity, of course.
Are you sure? You know why I'm saying so?
No, it will be because, listen, I don't think we've been in this kind of recession before.
No, this is the first recession in 25 years.
This is the first recession.
In 25 years.
Exactly. So people, when you push people to the wall, they can't go nowhere.
But when you
it's
come
either
out,
they break the wall or they get broken.
No,
therefore,
Mr. Ukaigwe, but if you take a look at when you come out now, because all this, they are so much interconnected. When these politicians come out, I don't know, you know, you come out, you give them, that time they'll do rice and print their pictures on it, or put granite and gari, seal it and be giving them with 500 naira.
That's what I said.
And women tell them to come out in their wrappers with the same uniform with headgear.
That's why I said sometimes we are the cause. How I wish.
But will you tell an hungry man?
No. But we are going to educate people on that. We may have to embark on education. Who will do it? Not the same government. You can't cause a problem and correct yourself. It is difficult. Therefore, I'm encouraging what you call the NGOs. NGOs for the right of political systems in Nigeria to rise up, educate Nigerian electorate, and say, do not receive anything from this people. When you receive from them, you are mortgaging your soul. You are mortgaging the future of this country.
But the question anyway,
there is so much scarcity, and it is this scarcity that makes us feel our behavior. When you see a Nigerian anywhere, the behavior is that behavior of scarcity syndrome. That is why even you are in the airport, everybody got boarding pass. You have your own seat number. When they announce the flight, they are running. Why are you running? It's because they have that scarcity syndrome in them. It's not enough. That is not enough.
Okay,
there's food everywhere here. You call people, come and eat. They'll be running. Right. They just think that food is not going to be enough.
Okay, I think I will halt you at this time. But before that, let's quickly take some comment. Olorun said, the truth of the matter is that most of our governors don't have plans for youth other than their pocket via illicit projects. Hope says, now that the funds has been released, I want to beg Edo State Governor to please pay the local government pensioners their arrears and gratuity. Meanwhile, Fidel says, so much money going around in this dispensation. What is being done to urgently improve welfare? People are dying of hunger. Dele says, Nancy, Nigerians wouldn't take it lightly with any governor who used the money to marry more wives, buy cars, and more properties, while masses suffer. Herman says, Nancy, you are welcome back. Thank you. Governors sold help now. Okay, and clear all workers' salaries with the Paris Club Fund. Federal government should monitor now. Those are comments coming in from people.
Federal government right now with the new minister, I think they set up that monitoring unit. I think they have it in place, but it
There
depends,
were some
but it depends
criteria
on
they did put
things. That's the criteria. I read
about 23 of them.
Yes. So the setting up monitoring teams in Nigeria have always been.
Okay,
but the thing is to empower them to do the work. Okay. We are not lacking laws. What we lack is implementation.
Okay, right. I've heard that many times. But many thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right, I've been speaking with Albert Ukaigwe, isn't it? Policy analyst. We've been looking at the Paris Club reform. Let's see if it will make a difference in the 30 states of Nigeria and the FCT. Around 765 billion naira have been disbursed now to the states. So let's hold our governments accountable. Go back to your state, hold your governor accountable. Perhaps I'll hold Enugu State governor accountable.
If you do so.
Now that's Governor Ugwai. That's, of course, we are married to. I'll also go back to Delta. Governor Kowa, our money.
Exactly.
You know. All right, that's the much we can take. Many thanks for joining us on the show. Please join us again tomorrow, same time on this channel. Be the best you can be and be that change you want to see. I am Nancy Nnaji. Bye now.
Anything can happen when you're out and about, but with the AA, there's no need to worry. Drawing from just £39 a year, our cutting-edge technology means we can fix 8 out of 10 cars at the roadside in around 30 minutes. And with us, you'll get unlimited call-outs, so we'll always keep you rolling. So why wait? Break down membership from £39 a year. Search AA Summer or call 0800 225 646. The AA, because anything can happen.